Hi there, I'm Lou.
John.
Welcome to Bottled Up and welcome to our series, the second.
Yep.
The overall banner of our series is called Clarification.
Yep.
And we're picking up on certain things and kind of unpacking them a bit, making them clear to you. This is the acronym called LOVE. I hope you heard the first one.
Yeah.
And we've got to L. I'll read out because this is what it actually says. Is leave the drinker to sort out their own life and drinking problems.
Yeah. Isn't that good?
Okay.
Okay.
Let's look at function first.
Yeah.
If John does something by mistake, or if he drops himself in it by mistake, it is not loving for me to just stand there, watch him fall flat on his face. I would automatically kind of cover that in some way. If he'd made a boo-boo, I'd just kind of maybe gently, whatever. I would be wanting to protect his back. Yeah. So before we go on, the behaviours we're going to highlight would be utterly functional if drink wasn't around. And so don't feel guilty when we start talking about stopping things, because this would be normal in a loving relationship, covering each other's weaknesses. But okay, so why is that not helpful in this situation?
Okay, well, what you read out there was, let the drinker, leave the drinker to sort out their own life and drinking problem. Now, for a drinker to actually recover, then they have to take some responsibility. In fact, they have to take full responsibility.
Sure. Yeah.
And the only way they can take responsibility is if they take responsibility for all of it, even the negative things that are happening. And if we pick them up, if we save them from the negative things that are happening, then they don't actually learn. They don't learn the sequence that, if I drink, this is what happens. If I drink heavily, this is what happens. If, when I drink, then I, fall out with people. If I drink, I fall down. If I drink, I get ill. If I drink, and there are lots and lots of things that happen. And if we save them from them all the time, then, if nothing bad is happening, why would you change your lifestyle?
Yeah.
I've talked about change many times in many of the videos, and I've always said the same thing. People change for two reasons. One is to avoid bad things, and the other one is to get good things. Now, normally what happens with drinkers is it's the first one that's to avoid bad things. The maintenance of change tends to happen because they want the good things. But initially, they don't see that.
Yeah.
And I think it's very difficult for drinkers, the partners of drinkers, to stand back and see the negative happening. And the majority of the people who come to Bottled Up are very loving people, and they are really want to help their drinker. But some of the things that they do, unfortunately, don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the dilemma that they have, I need to save my drinker, I need to step in, I need to be there, it's the loving thing to do.
Yeah, and paradoxically, in the first video I was talking about recognising that love was a better force than kind of hate and revenge that I felt a lot of the time. But there's a way of loving well in this situation and a way of loving not so well. So what you find you do, and this is quite complicated. I've lived with a drinker, and some of it isn't just protection of them. Some of it's protection of the family, protection of the relationship, protection of our reputation, all of those kind of things. And so it's quite subtle. And in the end, you're kind of running around after them, picking up all the pieces. And it becomes a denial. It becomes, and I think if I tried to break it down, there would be so many threads, I don't even know that I could do in a short video.
If we could take an analogy, if you have an extremely willful child that just wants to do, we've all seen them run about the supermarket, sort of pulling stuff off shelves and screaming, and and would you allow it to continue in that way? No, you try to remonstrate with it, you try to put down boundaries. And I think the same thing happens with drinkers. You need to put down boundaries, and that's one of the ways that you'll say, well, for example, drinkers are very boring, and they really want to talk when they're drunk. You know, and I mean, I know they're boring because I was a drinker and I was very boring. You know, and I have seen it in so many other drinkers. And if you're sitting with the family and you just want to watch TV and you've got a drunk there who does this every night, do you really want that? So if you put up a boundary and say, look, we would love you to come and sit with us and watch the TV with us and play board games, whatever it is that you do, but not if you're drinking. If you're drinking, go somewhere else.
Or we will. There's various strategies, I think.
But what I'm trying to say is it's their choice.
Yeah.
It's not you banning them, it's their choice. You know, drunk, don't be with us. Sober, be with us.
Yeah. Or sometimes, because they can be a bit belligerent drunks,
Yeah.
sometimes you say, I will be with you if you're not drinking, I will remove yourself if you're not.
Whichever way around it is, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. What I'm saying is, the thing is, you're pointing out that it's the consequence of their drinking is what you're trying to sort of highlight. Yeah.
And anything, food, leave the food to go cold.
Yeah.
Don't just fuss around making sure that they're fed at 10:30 at night. Leave a party.
Yeah.
If he, she is getting drunk.
I mean, the obvious caveat here is if they're in danger of being injured or, then no, you don't do that. I mean, if they fall asleep in front of the fire and they're liable to get burnt, then no, you don't do that. But if they fall asleep and don't get to bed, then it's not your job to get them to bed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Just watch your anger there, because the temptation to use this to be a little bit spiteful and get your own back will be very high. But again, it's not a good fuel to mend a relationship with. Obviously, think through too.
Yeah, you're not beating. Sorry, I'm cutting across you. You're not beating them over the head with things. They're managing to beat themselves.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's it. You don't have to add to it.
And the other thing I was going to say is just watch too, think through. Some consequences will hit you just as hard as you hit your partner. For example, if they lose their job, if you lie, because usually we lie if they don't turn up to work. If you decide to tell the truth, just be very sure on that one, because it might rebound and the jobs might be lost and then make your situation even worse. So be again pragmatic, be sensible, do what you can. But don't expose yourself into the bargain.
Yeah, if you have an independent income, it's easier to do that. But if you're dependent on that income, then no, this is a different matter altogether. Yeah, be pragmatic.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a pragmatic program.
And it really throws your drinker, actually, because suddenly they're doing something and you're kind of detaching and saying, well, if you're doing that, we're over here. Yeah. And the more you can live your life, I mean, come the end, seamlessly, if my husband started drinking, we had a whole set of strategies and we were off.
Yeah.
This
is not punishing the drinker.
No.
This is just allowing the natural negatives to happen.
Yeah, you're on your own, Sonny, if you do this. Yeah.
You make the decision to drink. What's the old saying? If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Yes.
You hear it in lots and lots of movies.
Yes.
That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
If you can't put up with the consequences, stop drinking.
Yes. And again, you will feel better yourself because you put down the responsibility of this impacting and just letting them get on with it. Mm-hmm. And you'll find that a lot of this program does begin to impact what's happening. We're not saying just walk away and let it get worse. Yeah. We're just saying this is the first step on a strategy for change.
Yeah. I know it's counterintuitive, and I know that most of you are very loving people who just want the best for your drinker, but sometimes the best for your drinker really is the worst for your drinker, if that makes any sense, to allow them to get the negatives.
And as mums, we know this, that, if our children keep doing things, we rescue them, but there comes a point where you just have to let them bear consequences, because otherwise they will not learn. And it's exactly the same thing, different arena, same principle.
Absolutely.
Okay. Join us for the second and the third and the fourth in our series. Bye-bye.
Bye.